Hi, I'm David Butcher with St. Anthony the Great Orthodox Mission Parish. I'm in Hendersonville, North Carolina. And one of the ways that we have gone about starting our community assessment is by the interviews, particularly the interviews that I've done with two parishioners that I didn't know very well. Um, One of which I really didn't know at all, other than his name before this. Before the Isaiah partnership generally, but especially before the S part of this project, and in the interviews that I've done with two of these guys, one whose name is Andrew, and one the gentleman I really didn't know anything about at all other than his name. His name is Jack. Um, I've gotten to know a lot about obviously them from a personal perspective, but it's been really eye-opening in a way of learning about two people out of a congregation of 30 on a good Sunday, but that's still a portion of my congregation, of my church family, and they're both one's a married man and one is single, much younger man, and they're from such disparate backgrounds. One is from I would say a younger man from an upper middle class background, and is very introverted, and has had some trouble just being part of community group efforts of church life in general, especially when it comes to like social gatherings, coffee hours, any type of engagement with the church after church services proper, after liturgy. And so it's been really a blessing to be able to reach out to Jack and kind of get to know him better. And I found out that while something that really affects a lot of people like myself who live closer on the Asheville side of things, Jack is essentially my next door neighbor. He lives a stone's throw away um, from where we live in West Asheville. He lives in West Asheville. He lives not even literally like a mile away. He's with his parents right now because he just finished college. He's 23. But that's something that one of the first things I came to know about Jack after reaching out to him and really trying to get to know him better, and get involved in his life. And his parents are from Asheville. He did not go to college in state. He doesn't really know what he wants to do, so there's a possibility that he might not stick around Asheville for a long time. But at least for the meantime, he's here, and he's a steady, regular. He's a member of our church. He's a regular attender. He's steady. He's always there. He's just very quiet. He's very much an introvert. But getting to know him and kind of realize that he's just, not the type of person who feels filled up with being around a lot of people. He likes to be alone, and that's how he kind of charges. He could be probably alone, most of his working week, and see, just the people that he works with, and not be around anybody else, and he would probably be fine with that. He's one of those types of introverts, very thoughtful, very introspective. But getting to know him on a more personal level and see, what kind of things are going on in his heart and in his life, learning just things about him, that it really conveys a lot about a person. Like his name proper, his baptized name is John, right? And there's like a million different Johns. So a lot of people in a church of our particular location geographically, a lot of people who are named John might be named after more recent Russian saints, Saint John of Kronstadt, John of Moscow, but he's named after John the Evangelist. So OG, old school, and I was talking to him about how that's how he feels a connection to John the Evangelist, and how it's important to him. This has been something that's special. Um, Listening to some of his interest, he's really interested in volunteering, and he was asking my wife and I, after we came to the realization that we live so close together, if we know of any places he could volunteer at, locally in Asheville. And so it really just has been such a blessing being able to get to know Jack. Hopefully, I say this as humbly as I can, like being 40 and him being 23. I remember being that age when I was 23, was getting finished with college at that age, and not really knowing what I wanted to do, not really knowing what purpose with a capital P might look like. I remember being, or a feeling that I was like just all over the place. Um, and so I hope that God can use me to help him, maybe make some choices about what he wants to do with his life. He still is not exactly sure, and that's totally okay. And I'm also hopeful and confident that God will use him to show me some things also about being 40 and being in this town that I love and that I want to see more growth in, from the church's standpoint. I think maybe he can provide a fresh set of eyes as well. Um, and so my rapport with Jack is ongoing. It's like I get to know him, just a little bit better. Like there's a tiny little translucent piece of onion skin that gets peeled back every time I'm around him. But it's an ongoing process. But I've made a friend, and for that I'm really grateful. That really is special. And for Andrew also, Andrew's the other gentleman. He's closer to 60, and he is definitely someone who is quiet, but I don't think he's an introvert per se. I think he's what people refer to as kind of a shy extrovert. He really wants fellowship, and the particular position he's in is he is in somewhat of a not great marriage situation, and so it's been um, it's been tough. It's tough anytime there's a situation where people are not equally yoked. And he was from the get go. Andrew has been very forthright and open about his problems in his marriage, his marital life, and wanting fellowship, particularly with other men in the group. He works actually pretty close to where I live, to where my family and I live in Asheville proper. He actually works north of where I work, but he lives closer to Hendersonville in the south part of town. So he only lives about 15 to 10 minutes away from our church, but he works like 45 minutes away from our church. So he drives coming to and from his home from work every day. He passes by the exit you get off on I-26 to where we live. So we've instigated several just times just to hang out, just to get to know each other better. We met at like a restaurant a couple of times, and I just talked about just the things in life that you talk about in a small kind of quiet area to get to know someone better. But we've also talked about some of the deeper spiritual things, the deeper spiritual elements, and I learned a lot about him and about how his situation is it's not all that unique. I don't know if it's something that's more commonplace in this region, or if it's something that's more commonplace with Orthodox Christianity in America in general. But his wife is not Orthodox, and not only not Orthodox, she's somewhat anti-Orthodox Christian, and not necessarily even nominally Christian, although she would probably, according to him, claim some form of Christianity. that she's seen on TV. And he is also taking care of his mother, who lives in a facility now suffering with dementia, that's in Hendersonville. And he also, his wife is also has some ailments as well that he has to care for. So he feels so burdened and stretched by that. But he is so open and so desirous of making connections and making friendships in the church and being able to serve and give what he can. I remember a couple of Sundays ago, he came in with a giant box of Bavita crackers, just to donate to for like the coffee hour afterwards. And he's the type of guy, Andrew is, where he could just go into a place and just quietly hang out and be content just to be there.